It's the weekend, and I want to be one of the first individuals to invite you to go to church this Sunday morning, a church of your choice. I promise you that you'll feel better both inside and out. How would you like for me to tell you today that I'm praying for you? It certainly makes you feel good when somebody tells you that they're praying for you. Or if you tell me that you were praying for me, it would make me feel really good. How does it make you feel today if I were to tell you that Jesus is praying for you? It would make many of you feel really, really good. Well, Jesus told Simon Peter in Luke chapter 22, verses 31 and 32, Jesus told Simon Peter that Satan desires to sift you as wheat. But then Jesus goes on and tells Peter that I have prayed for you, that your faith would fail not. Now I know you're saying, Joshua, that's Jesus talking to Peter. That has nothing to do with me. But I beg a difference to you today. Because as Jesus was praying for Peter on that day, Jesus is also praying for you and me today. Because the Bible tells us in Romans chapter 8 and verse 34 that Jesus is sitting at the right hand of God the Father, and He is making intercession for us. Which means He is praying for me and He is praying for you. And Jesus can tame the untamed. That's the most important thing for you and I to understand. Jesus can take a scene that is chaotic and He can bring peace upon that scene. Why is it that when we have things in our lives that are real big, that are out of control, we focus our attention on that area of our lives to make it right, to get the things that are untamed, that are big in our lives, tamed before we reap havoc. But yet the little stuff in our lives, we don't point all of our attention on the little things because we think within ourselves it's not big, so there's nothing to be concerned about. This isn't a major issue. We'll deal with it when it becomes a major issue. Do you know that little things in our lives that are untamed can become very, very critical and crucial of what we become, let's say, tomorrow? We want to focus on 10 years from now, but we need to focus on tomorrow. The Word of God tells us in James chapter 3 and verse 8, it talks about the tongue. It talks about how that the tongue, even though it is a very small member of the body, the Word describes it as being an unruly, evil member of the body. It talks about how that it is full of poison. And the Bible tells us that no man can tame the tongue. A little member, but yet it becomes so big because it's full of poison. The little things that we overlook that are untamed in our lives, we must tame those little things because it's going to cause you and I to develop into a character that is not pleasing in our eyes and is not pleasing in God's eyes as well. James chapter 3 really describes to us on how that things that are untamed can just really become a mess. That's why we've got to tame those things, even if we consider them little things. In James chapter 3, it talks about how that we put bits in a horse's mouth. And because we put those bits in a horse's mouth, it causes us to be able to steer the entire body of that horse. As big as that horse is, we can steer it because we put those little bits in its mouth. And then it talks about a ship. It can weather all the storms of the sea. A big ship, but we can take the helm of that ship, that little tiny point of that ship, and we can steer it a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. And in 2 or 3 hours from now, we are totally 200 to 300 miles off course than what we would have been otherwise. A big ship, we can control its destiny because of that little tiny helm. Is things in your life that you consider little, that's not really a big issue? Are they untamed in your life? Out of control? And today you're saying, you know what? I need to get those things that I consider so little that are untamed. I need to cause them to be tamed right now, because I don't know what it's going to do to me tomorrow if I don't take care of it today. In Mark chapter 11, there was a colt that was tied up at a crossroads. And Jesus sent two of his disciples to go get that colt that had never been ridden before. And Jesus did not tell those two disciples to ride it to him, but he asked them to bring the colt to him. But he also explained to them exactly where it was going to be at, and he also told them that if somebody were to ask why you are taking this colt, let them know that the master needs it. Now, Jesus knew that people were going to question that. Now, this was a scene that was chaotic, because when the question rose up, what are you doing taking that colt? Those disciples knew exactly what to say, because Jesus had told them, because Jesus can take a situation that is untamed and he can cause it to be tamed immediately. That's what type of God that we serve today. Jesus took that colt after the disciples, those two disciples, brought that colt to Jesus, and he rode that colt. He broke that colt that had never been ridden before. Jesus can take the untamed and he can tame the things that are in our lives that are totally out of control. So today, I encourage you to trust Jesus in those areas of your lives that are chaotic, those areas of your life that are untamed. Give it to Jesus today, and I promise you that he will take it and he will tame it. Until next time, keep your eyes and your focus on Jesus, and go spread the news that there's liberty at the cross.